Hello all, and welcome to this new series of Sid's Selections, where I go through my player picks on Fantasy Premier League. Now, as you can see, we are on game week 8 of this season. I'd like to highlight how successful the opening for this season has been. So we've got 6.8 million players up here that have joined us this season, and so far I've managed to make it to 241st in the world. So, let's just scroll down here and we'll take a look at where else I am. So far I've been top of all my leagues. Second in a head-to-head league. It's been some poor fixtures letting me down there. But as we look at some of the global leagues, you'll see that I'm fourth out of all the Spurs fans. Not actually a Spurs fan, guys. I'm a Pompey Blue, but yeah, I decided I put myself down as a Spurs fan for my mate Dave, and as you can see, I'm doing pretty well for them and representing my mate Dave pretty well. And then we've got 94th in England, which I think is a pretty solid start to this season. So, the difficult part is to not let that slip. So we're going to have a long think about how we're going to keep up the good progress. Now, the aim for this week is to try and break into that top 100 teams and into the double figures. So I've loaded up my team here on the left. This is exactly how I had it from last week. And on the other half of the screen, you can see I've got the Premier League table, which I'm just going to help. Just going to use to help me sort of figure out what's going on at the moment in the Premier League. So the most noticeable difficulty we're going to have this week is the De Bruyne injury. So let's start with that injury and think about how we're going to approach that. Now, Guardiola has already said he's not sure if De Bruyne will be back this week, but he knows that the injury isn't so bad that he's going to miss any games after the international break. He knows he'll be back, but for those games after that international break. So, with Man City losing to Norwich earlier this season, where De Bruyne didn't play, he knows that he's going to want his main man starting in every game that he can get him in, just to ensure that sort of loss to Norwich doesn't sort of repeat itself. So for me, the real question with De Bruyne is, will he start or will he be injured and not play at all? I can't see him starting on the bench and coming on. So with that in mind, my logic for this week is to leave him on the field in that position. I'm going to leave him there starting, and if he doesn't play, he will get subbed. He will come on for whoever my first sub's going to be. So it's either he will start and hopefully bang in some goals or get some assists. Alternatively, I think he will not start. He'll get 0 minutes game time and he'll just be subbed off. So next, we're going to look at the captaincy. Now, Sterling having a little bit of a drought at the moment. It's only a small drought, and a man of that talent will come back. He will start finding himself in the points again at some point. But at the moment, yeah, he's not really been hitting very much. Let's just take a look at him here the last couple of weeks. He's had a 3, a 2, a 0. He did manage to get a goal in the game against Everton. But overall, I think he's finding himself in a little bit of a rough spot. And alternatively, I think for the captaincy this week, I'm considering the Abraham pick. Now, Abraham is the goal-scoring machine for Chelsea at the moment. I really rate Abraham. Like Frank Lampard, he knows exactly what to do with him. He knows how to play with Abraham. Abraham's always looking for the ball. He's always hunting down where the next pass is going to come from. And that's the reason why him and Mount have been working so wonderfully this season. Mount has been absolutely storming it down that right side, and he has been finding Abraham, who's been banging in the goals. Like joint top goal scorer this season so far, Abraham. So I think he's looking good. So it is a hard decision, this one, like the Sterling or the Abraham pick. Like, they're both, well, Sterling's just class, absolute world class, and Abraham is on it at the moment. So it's a really hard decision to make. But overall, I think with Chelsea playing Southampton, I just can see the Chelsea boys going down to the south coast and sort of getting a couple of goals there. And I can just see Abraham being on that goal scoring list. So for me, I'm going to be putting Abraham as captain. But a solid second place here. Sterling is coming in as my vice captain. And I think the reason why I'm going to do that as well is because to break into this top 100, I need to think of something a little bit outside the box, something that people are not going to be doing. And Sterling, I think he's always going to be a solid captain pick for a lot of teams. And I think Abraham, if he can just have an outstanding week against Southampton, he might just do enough for me to make it into that top 100. But also looking at this midfield, on the radar for me for somebody to be leaving the team is Salah. Salah has just not been firing at full cylinders this season so far. He's just looked a little bit slow and a little bit lethargic out there on the pitch. And he's still getting the points. He's still not a bad player. But also with the controversy off the pitch with Egypt and their vote in the FIFA awards, and the fact that Salah's been trying to distance himself with the national team, you just wonder whether or not his head is in the right place this season. Also, with him being 12.5 million cost in my team, is he really justifying his place at that value for money? Now, he then goes and bangs 2 goals midweek in the Champions League. So just as I'm thinking, he's not quite cutting it this season. He's a solid player, he's in points, but is he that justifiable for that money? He then goes and bangs those 2 goals. And I don't know how to react to that. He's got it in him to get goals. He's a good player. It just depends if his mentality's there, and if he sort of picks up his pace and he starts going fully at it on the pitch. So, those 2 goals have really thrown me. But I am going to keep him in my team. I'm not going to transfer him out. He's going to stay there, and I think he's going to justify his position. But he is on thin ice for my team. I think he's a great player, but I think he might just not be at his full strength this season, and that may just encourage me to make the change later on. But for this week, he's going to stay in my team, and he's going to start. Going to be in that midfield. So then, next up, we've got the defence, which has been the bane of my season so far. The defence has been a hard place to pick players from. There's been goals coming from left, right and centre in the Premier League, and there's not been too many clean sheets, and I think the real task here is to sort of figure out who's going to be getting some goals and assists, to be quite honest, because there's just goals everywhere at the moment. Now Virgil van Dijk, he has also been another player on my radar to be transferred out, because he's an expensive defender, and he hasn't showed up this season like his last season, in comparison to Alexander-Arnold, who's on fire. So is Virgil van Dijk, is he justifying the cost in my team like Salah? I don't know, and I don't know, when you look at everyone's defence in the league this season, you probably do look at Virgil van Dijk and see that he's worth the cost, because Liverpool have only conceded 5 goals this season, and he can still cause problems going forward. He's picked up 2 goals this season. In comparison to other defenders, I think he probably is actually a good player, and he will stay in my team. But he has just not quite been at it, and he's not been in the points like he was last season. But with the fact that he is causing problems going forward and picking up those 2 goals, particularly from set pieces, he's got to stay in the team. But I don't know if I'm going to start him this week. That's the real question I've got here, is will he start? Now, if you look at my other defenders, I've got Kelly here, who last week I didn't realise was going to be back fit. I thought he was still going to be injured last week, so I had him down at the bottom of my subs. But Palace have been also on our stormer this year for defence. They've only conceded 7, which is the second best defence in the league at the moment. And they're against West Ham as well. And West Ham are not on it. And I don't get this hype around Haller. Haller has not been... He's not been on it this season. Like, there's this hype. And yes, he's got 3 goals. And is technically joint top goal scorer for West Ham. But, I mean, you've also got to look at... who is it? It's, here we go. So, Yarmolenko. He's also got 3 goals for West Ham. And West Ham just don't look like they've got that token striker. The guy that's just going to keep banging in goals all season. The goals, they're coming from a couple of places and not just from Haller. But I just don't see any goals coming out of West Ham, to be quite honest. They just don't look like they're going to get goals. And so with that in mind, I actually see the a Kelly clean sheet more on the cards than a Van Dijk clean sheet or a Van Dijk goal. Liverpool are playing Leicester this week, and Leicester have the joint best defence in the league this year. They've only conceded 5 as well as Liverpool. So I just can't see Liverpool banging in goals this week. So I can't see necessarily Van Dijk being on the score sheet. Plus also, Leicester have got Vardy up front, who has also been on a great start this season. He's been on fire. And I don't think Liverpool or Leicester will keep a clean sheet in that game. I think it'll probably be at least 1 goal for Vardy. And I think... I think Liverpool will win overall. I mean, Leicester have had a fantastic start to this season, but I do think Liverpool will have the quality to close out that game. But I don't think Liverpool will keep a clean sheet. And for that reason, I'm going to be putting Kelly in over Van Dijk. But Van Dijk will obviously be my top sub here. And I think this is a logical decision, especially with Peters and Lundstram, sort of with the teams they're playing this year. Peters playing for Burnley, and they've got Everton this week, who so far have only got 6 goals over there. They just don't look like scoring at all. I think that's a clean sheet. And Lundstram, just with Watford, Watford are not going to score either. They're having an awful season. There's no threat from Watford at all. And Lundstram, with his sort of attacking role, he's got a bit of a free rein to go up the pitch a little bit. I can see Lundstram even potentially getting on the score sheet himself or assisting. So it's a no-brainer for Lundstram and Peters to stay in my team this week. The Van Dijk and Kelly decision, I think I'm definitely going to stick with this Kelly at the back, because I can see Kelly getting a clean sheet more likely than Van Dijk keeping a clean sheet or getting a goal. And you've also got to think about this De Bruyne issue as well. So if De Bruyne doesn't play, if he is injured and doesn't play 0 minutes, Van Dijk will come on. It's not a bad sub to have. It's a good position to find myself in. So, and if De Bruyne does play, I mean, De Bruyne's world class, so he'd hopefully be getting some points in there. So I think that's what I'm going to be doing this week. The Van Dijk on the subs. Slightly odd, I know, but I do think that the back 3 I've got there, Kelly, Peters and Lundstram, are the highest likely players to keep the clean sheet. Finally, we've got that number 1 spot. We've got the guy between the posts, and I've been all over the shop with the keepers this season. I've been changing them left, right and centre. But for me, the standout players for Wolves, who City are playing this week, they've not done anything. The Wolves players they've just been a little bit slow and lazy this season. They've only banged in 9 goals, Wolves. And for me, at this point of the season, if you haven't got double figures in the goals for, I don't think you're going to be looking too good in getting goals, to be quite honest. I think the Wolves guys have not done enough to get goals. So with that in mind, I am going to keep Edison in goal. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it changes the following week. I can see Edison easily coming out my next game week, and switch him out for potentially somebody else with a better fixture list. Somebody who's finding a little bit more consistency, because in that number one spot, there's just not really anyone that's showing a lot of consistency. So I think I'm going to keep, yes, the Edison pick there for this week, but once again I can see that changing. So then, let's take a look at this team then, heading into game week 8. So we've got Edison between the sticks. We have got Kelly, Peters and Lundstrom at the back, with Virgil van Dijk actually missing out, but he is going to be the top spot in my subs in case of that De Bruyne injury. We have got in the midfield Sterling, the possibly injured De Bruyne, Salah and Mount, and then an unchanged up front for me with Wilson, Pookie, but captained Abraham, who hopefully will be in the goals down at St Mary's. So that's the team. Give us a like if you think I'll be successful in breaking into that top 100 this week. Leave me a comment if you think I'm going to flump. But let me know what your secret picks are of how you think you're going to get some cheeky points in the FPL. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.